Welcome back into Exit 99 Sports. As always, I'm Caleb DeLoach, and today joined by a special guest, Coach Corey Brownsberger. Coach, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me as always, Caleb.
So, Coach, your season's over with. You guys, great year. Obviously, the Indians finished 24-4, 7-1 in the conference. You end in the district semis to Lindbergh. This is the end of year 4 with you and Coach Toma together at the helm here at Jackson. So, you're now used to this. So what does the last couple of weeks look like for you since the season's ended? Do you back away? Do you agonize? What happens at the end of a year?
Yes.
Yes.
No, it is. It's nice. It's really weird. Like several people have asked how it's been since the season, and we lose on that Thursday. That Friday, I felt like a zombie. You're so used to, okay, we're done with that game, on to the scout of the next game, and there's a rotation, and I am very...
Also, the fact that it was a Friday, not Saturday immediately thereafter.
100%.
It's like I have to go to work now.
Those elementary kids did probably not like me very much the next day. No, obviously at the end of any season, it's tough. You go back, you think of things you probably should have done different. You're excited, and you're happy with a lot of the results, especially after the season that we just had. Right. But, doing kind of a breakdown of our year, I've kind of started looking at some film to study ourselves. One of the things I talked about with Coach Toma, I've started to kind of break down some films of, at the time, who was in the Elite Eight in Class 6. So looking at Rockhurst, Francis House Central, obviously Cardinal Ritter, Lindbergh, Oak Park, Blue Springs, those schools, of seeing maybe if there's a common characteristic that they bring to the table that maybe we can do something about to hit on in the offseason. But getting to recoup a little bit. I know I've gotten to play dad a lot more.
Yeah, probably nice.
My
your wife appreciates
yes, my Christy really appreciates me picking up the kids a lot more than I have over the past several months. But no, it's been nice to kind of reflect on the great season we have had, but also seeing what we can do to make it better going forward.
Right. And so this is the end of year 4. You kind of talked about it. Is you just graduated a class of kids that were there the entirety of high school with you guys. Would you say the system, you're obviously always working to get better, but is the system, is the program where you want it to be, or like where you guys thought it would be even by this point?
I don't know if any of us had a set destination maybe for where we thought it would be by year 4, but I truly believe our program's in a good spot. Yeah. Obviously led with Coach Toma. He's done a great job since day one of identifying what our culture should be about, and it's the thing we say before we leave every huddle is we have one goal, we're all in all the time. And I truly believe, more so maybe than any of the groups, this group that we had this year really embodied that, because this group played for each other from start to finish, and I truly believe got the absolute most out of each and every one of them.
Yeah, I agree. And, this year looked a little bit different for you also. Just personally, you had a role change per se. You were no longer the JV coach. So what was what were your thoughts on that, your first 4 years, just like strictly varsity focused assistant only?
Ironically, Coach Toma and I talked about this a little bit today. We had some exit interviews with our guys that we like to do at the end of each year, and we talked about our year as a staff. And I was interested to see what it would be like, because this is year 12 in coaching, and I've always been the head coach at some level, whether it be at Leopold and Meadow Heights running JV and varsity, or even, my first 3 years here. I really felt like it helped not only myself, but our staff, because everybody kind of filled into their role. Obviously, Coach Toma is the head of the program, and he's done an amazing job since he took over, but allowing me to focus solely on the varsity aspect of things. Like we talked about today, I'm as competitive as anybody, and it was tough some nights on those JV varsity doubleheaders of whether we played well or not, of trying to turn that switch off and get to the varsity game. So I
enjoyed watching you pace by the coach's locker room there.
Yeah, that was, trust me, you don't want to know all the thoughts that were going through my head at that point. But no, I think it really helped us out. I got a chance to focus, like I said, solely on the varsity aspect. I don't know that I spent any less time or spent more time this year. I just got to put all of my energy into one basket, so to speak. And I really felt like it helped us as a staff. I think we were really, really unified in what we were doing. And I think the product speaks for itself on what we were able to accomplish this year.
Shout out to Bryce getting the JV,
100%
at the JV level.
Yeah, Coach Haas is he was exactly what we needed. Brings great energy. Did a great job with our JV group this year, especially as a young guy. We entrusted him with a lot. And the thing that people probably don't notice is, obviously he coached the JV, but he did a lot with us, both from our side, but also what other teams do on baseline and sideline out of bounds. A lot of games he would have little keys that we could look at if a certain player was inbounding the basketball or if they were in a certain alignment, what was coming. And so, yeah, obviously he is very, very valuable to our program, as is Coach McDowell with what he does with our freshmen. You're not going to find a more loyal and just energetic human being than Reagan McDowell. He is Jackson through and through. Yeah,
I was like, he was my 8th grade coach, so
yeah,
the loyalty is obviously still there. He's been there ever since.
He
survived me playing basketball.
No, Coach McDowell's awesome. Love learning a little stuff about coaching and life every day from Coach McDowell. And then a guy that I don't think gets enough credit for what he does is Rob Johnson. Yeah. Because Rob's been with our junior high program since we started, and actually a year before that as well. But then after the junior high season's over with, comes up to the high school, is in as many practices as he can be, helps with kind of our down-the-road scouting. Yeah. So, like, going into districts, Coach Tome and I were handling a lot of, like, the next game scout. But going in, so for an example, we had the Oakville scout done, and then going into who we could play possibly next, whether it be Lindbergh or Kirkwood. Coach Tome and I still did work on that, but we had a good basis with both teams from Coach Haas and Coach Johnson. So our entire staff, from Coach Tome all the way down, was probably the most locked in we've had since we've been here. And I think, like I said, I think the kids saw that, and I think the product spoke for itself. Yeah,
the product definitely spoke for itself. And you mentioned exit interviews, and I know, I've been part of a couple of those, and I know part of it is kids asking or you telling one of the two, these are the spots where, hey, where can I get better, coach? How can I go from being the 8th man to in the starting lineup, things like that. And, kind of working backwards here for the season. I mean, you guys just graduated 2 of the best development stories, at Jackson that I can remember. I mean, you had 2 seniors, Will Thomas, Ty Forrest. Will led the team in scoring. This time a year ago, last season, the season before, whatever, he averaged 2 points a game as a junior. Ty Forrest, even more stark. He was like 2nd in the team in scoring. He appeared in 10 games as a junior, and all of those basically being like mop-up duty in games. Those guys went from minimal role to no role, and then in 1 year just took a leap. What can you say about those guys and just kind of what happened in the offseason for them?
I think it's a testament to those 2 kids and their character and how they're raised. You're not going to find 2 better kids than Will and Ty. And again, it says a lot about their parents, how they brought them up. And I think it's a great story for not only the future of Jackson basketball, for this world in general, is these 2 kids were not handed anything. They continued to grind no matter what their role was, never complaining, and they just showed up every day and tried to get better. Right. And then when they were in a position where their number was called this year, they did something with it. Yeah. And I think that says a lot. We talk about Ty, and the story's been said so many times, whether you and I talking on here or just to random people that I stop and talk to, but the kid got cut twice in junior high. Yeah. And very easily could have given up, and a lot of kids would have, and he didn't, and he kept grinding and was an integral part, obviously, of what we did this year. And Will Thomas was a kid that I joked with him and talking to his mom and dad at senior night. As a freshman, he was kind of a two-guard. Yeah. As a sophomore, he played a little bit of point on our JV, anywhere 1, 2, 3, or 4. As a junior, he started at the beginning of the year, and when Jory had his ascension, he lost some minutes playing behind Jory and then obviously Cole. But coming into this year, I think in multiple conversations we talked with Will, and like, you're really not a point guard, and the kid is just a basketball player. Yeah. Like, he stepped into that role and was our de facto point guard this year, and again was our leading scorer, was second in our team. I think he and Jory might have tied, but he's second or third in our team in rebounding. Was a good assist man, super unselfish. And at one point, this was earlier in the year, he had like 98 2-point field goal makes. Yeah. And of the 98, 2 of them were like a 15-foot jump shot. Yeah. Or excuse me, 2-point. It wasn't 2-point. It was 98 field goal makes, period. Okay. Of the 98 of them, only 2 of them were an actual like jump shot inside the 3-point line. Everything was either a 3 or Will Thomas cut. Yep. Will Thomas offensive rebound. Yep. And again, he was Will. And I told his mom at senior night, the world could use a lot more Will Thomas in the world.
Agreed.
And again, awesome leader. And some of our exit interviews today, we asked them what they thought about our culture and how our locker room was this year. And every kid that came through our door said this year's locker room was awesome. Yeah. Nobody griped at each other. Everybody played for each other. Nobody cared how many points they scored. Nobody did this, that, or the other thing. And that's a direct testament to Will and Ty and how they handled themselves.
Agreed, yeah. I mean, nothing they did ever felt forced. And that was kind of a signature of your team all season. I mean, you had 4 guys who averaged double digits, and then you brought, 4 guys off the bench pretty consistently that seamlessly just worked their way into the rotation. You mentioned Will. I mean, there was never a moment in Ty. There was never a moment watching, because calling all the games, I never felt like they were hunting shots. Like, they just, like you said, they're just basketball players. They just showed up. If Ty was open in the corner, somebody was going to hit him. He was probably going to knock it down. If somebody missed any shot, Will Thomas was probably going to at least get a hand on it. It felt like on the offensive rebounding side. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun watching those guys play, and you could feel, like you said, there was no ego feel. Like, nobody even scrunched a nose at each other. It felt like on the court watching this year's team. There was so much fun to just watch be on the court together.
Yeah, and again, that's what makes our job fun is because look, we can fix the X's and O's. We can fix, a strategy part of the game. But having kids that just like being around each other and want to go compete is something that I think everybody strives for in this game and in coaching any sport. And you have kids like Will, Ty, Jory, Blaine, John. I mean, on down the line of our kids, there's really, really good kids that do things the right way, and it made for a very, very enjoyable year.
Something you mentioned I wasn't even going to ask about, but the way you guys kind of play, how much has modern basketball kind of affected maybe the strategy of the game? Because you guys were pretty much, as I think a lot of teams now strive to be, it's get an open look from 3 or get to the basket.
So, ironically enough, Ryan Tate and I had this conversation, I believe it was before the New Madrid game. And we do look at some analytics of effective field goal percentage and things of that nature. I don't know that it's anything that we've really set out and said, this is what we want. We either want a layup or a 3. I think it has more to do with the specific kids that we have and their skill sets. Yeah. So if you look at a kid, let's take last year for an example. we would shoot the three, we pound it inside, but you have a kid like Koldeck who was pretty effective at shooting 15-foot jump shots.
You shoot over anybody.
Yeah. So that was never something that we went out and said, Cole, we don't want you to shoot 15-foot jump shots. The same thing this year. I think it just more the skill set. You know, Will was really, really good at moving without the basketball, offensive rebounding, and developed into a really good shooter from three. Honestly, the kid who was probably best at getting to 15, he didn't do it as much throughout the year, but Ty was really good at when he got to 2, could raise up and shoot it at times. But you look at their skill sets. Ty was really good from 3. Jory, you know, there were times where, especially late in the year, where we would post him up on smaller guards, good from 3, good at getting to the rim. John Ernst is a kid that could handle and take people off the bounce, post up around the rim. He could shoot a 15-foot jump shot at times. And then you got a kid like Blaine Reagan, who Blaine was going to be, you know, get out in transition, get to the rim.
He could get by anybody.
He 100%, and showed at times, especially late in the year, that when people left him open.
Just a shooter now.
Again, that comes back to Blaine is just a gamer and a competitor. And he knew we needed to have something in a moment, and he stepped up and was never going to shy away from that. And I'll take a kid like that all day long.
My comment on his jump shooting technique is he's just so athletic that it's a laser beam, but he elevates so high that he's just shooting down. He's almost
willing
into the
basketball into the rim. But no, to answer your question, I don't know that we really set out and go, we want a 3 or a layup.
Yeah. Especially
at the high school game, especially where we're at, I think you got to kind of let your talent dictate what your schemes are. And I think we've done a pretty good job of doing that year in and year out.
Yeah. So let's look back. You know, you and I last sat down here together I think right at the beginning of practice, when practices first started, right before practices started. Yeah. So the last time you and I spoke, your returning leading scorer was playing football. The Reagans were maybe playing basketball. They were also in the middle of football season, in the middle of a long playoff run. And then, you know, also your penciled in starting point guard ended up not playing a single second for you. I looked at the timeline. The Lee Summit game, Jackson football's last game, was the 29th of November. First game was the 3rd of December. It's like, hey, here's half of our rotation. Let's go play a basketball game. What was the preparation like going into the season for you guys there?
It was interesting. But you know, like this group that we had, and I don't know how many times different people have this group was just a group of competitors. Yeah. And so I think there was not another group that could have handled this any better than this group, because they're like, okay, we got a game today against such and such. Here's our little scouting report of what we think it's going to be like. Go play.
Yep.
And, you know, I think Jory's first game against Rockwood,
he had 18 points.
18. So, and Coach Nesbitt put something out shortly after that of he had over 1,000 yards in football, 10-plus touchdown catches, and then his first night on a basketball floor, he goes for 18. But
pretty good athlete.
Yeah, he's okay.
Pretty good.
But no, I think, you know, it was interesting because Rockwood had the Pulsick kid coming back, and so we knew they were going to be a solid group, and we knew what Farmington was going to bring, so we knew that was going to be a good test. I don't think any of us expected a 3-0 start to come right out of the gates, just because we didn't know what to expect with this group.
Right.
But yeah, it was that was an entertaining week because, you know, the Rockwood game was close. The Farmington game, I think we ended up winning 71-61.
Yeah.
But
it was tight.
Yeah, it was tight stretches. You know, John fouls out in that game, not playing a lot. That was honestly the moment that I thought we had a chance to be solid, was because I think going into this year, everybody thought it was going to be John Ernst and throw some athletes on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, when John, I think he had 2 that game, and he fouls out, and we still found a way to win a game by double digits.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? There's going to be something here. I don't know what it's going to amount to, but there's something here. And so that was very, I think, eye-opening for people in the area. And
it was for me. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. You know, you mentioned you lose a player right before the season. You have 3 guys you are going to lean on that haven't played basketball in months. And then, like you said, John, he had a hard time in this tournament where he played the big kid from Rockwood, and then the Farmington game, he was just in terrible foul trouble the entire time. But this was where it was like, oh, Will Thomas can just score 20 points. Oh, Ty Forrest can just score like 20 points in a game. Oh, okay. Like these guys are just now really good basketball players. Like that was the real, like that week going 3-0, 3 games in 3 days was really eye-opening, especially against, like you said, pretty good competition to start a season for a team that hadn't practiced together.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it gets back to, I don't know how many of our guys I would look at and just say they're a basketball player. Yeah. They're just we got some athletes that want to go out and compete and play hard. Like, I know we had a coach earlier in the year ask, how do we get kids to guard the way that they do? And like, coach,
like, well, most of them, half of them are kind of born that way.
Yeah. I mean, really, we set our culture, and I don't think anybody would be surprised that we set our culture heavy on the defensive end. Yeah. But these kids are just really good athletes that love to go out and compete, and we try to put them in the right spot to be successful. And like I said, this group adhered to that very, very nicely this year.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you still had no days off, right? You played 3 games in 3 days.
Yep.
The 5th, you beat Farmington at Farmington. Then you turn around, and you're in the SEMO Conference Tournament, the 8th of that month. Did you guys practice? Did you get it? Because that was like a Friday, I think, was the Farmington.
So we had Saturday off, and then we practiced again on Sunday. I think we counted after the SEMO conference tournament, I want to say we had 3 practices with our football kids.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because it was huge. You guys beat Poplar Bluff in the first game. You didn't have to play for 3 days. It was like, wow, look at this. We get to actually meet each other and like pass the ball to each other. This is great.
We can go over some techniques of what we want to do.
Hey guys, this is a play.
Yeah.
This is our inbounds play.
We literally had nothing put in other than our base simple motion stuff going into that. But yeah, going into SEMO, obviously SEMO conference is never going to be a cakewalk, and we had Bluff on the ropes, I think, really before half to knock them out, and then they go on a little run, and it was obviously a dogfight. But again, that showed me a lot, because I don't know if you remember with calling that game, but they took the lead.
They did, yeah.
Late.
Like 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left.
And a lot of teams having the big lead that we did early in that game, having given it away, would have folded and would have lost that game. And we came back and made some plays and made some shots that put us in the win column. And then obviously, you get into Sykeston, and they are clearly a really good basketball team, having now going to the Class 5 Final Four. But I thought it showed a lot about our team that up to that point, nobody had even come close to touching them.
Yeah.
And we played right with them. Obviously a few too many turnovers, but I think that showed me something. And then obviously the way the Cape game went for us, obviously they were fresh off dealing with the uncertainty of if Tyshandre would come back.
Yeah, I mean, that game, it felt like the court was tilted in the direction you guys were playing the entire time.
That was I was always interested to see how we would respond from a loss.
Yeah.
And to have a quick turnaround like that, having a kid like at the time, we were kind of searching, do we want to keep Will at the 1? Do we want to try and slide him to the 2? So actually Drew Respondek started.
Well, you guys experimented with Drew in there a little bit.
So Drew actually started that game and had some nice moments for us. Yeah. And I thought defensively early we set the tone. I don't know that they scored until very late.
I think it took 7 minutes.
And it was,
if I remember right.
Yeah, and we had a couple shot clock violations. So again, responding from a loss and seeing, we could mix and match a couple different lineups here and get some good results. That was very promising coming out of the SEMO tournament.
Yeah, immediately going, playing Sykeston at Sykeston after, like you talked about, having 2 practices on the season. Yeah. And you guys, it was a single-digit game the entire ball game. Y'all turned it over like 20 times.
Yes.
And it still never got out of reach. Like, that's unheard of when you play a Sykeston. And then question about the conference tournament and also the Christmas tournament. What do you think about playing with the shot clock? What was that like?
Loved it.
I, as a viewer, I liked it so much.
I absolutely loved it. You know, I thought there were some times, and I think you saw it throughout the entire tournament, where kids got sped up a little bit and thought maybe 35 seconds? Yeah. 35 seconds was a little bit less than what it actually was. But I think it's great for constantly having to teach basketball as opposed to just run a stall game. So even late
and in close games,
yes,
there's no like, let's just play, monkey in the middle.
100%. And I think it teaches kids, hey, we've got 45 seconds left in this game. We're still going to need to get a shot off here.
Right.
How can we effectively still use clock, but also get a look at the rim? And again, there's just so much more strategy to it. And I really enjoyed playing with the shot clock.
It was really, really cool. Like you said, it almost felt like it rarely felt noticeable because I was at most of the games. Like I would get there at the beginning of the day whenever you guys were playing, and there was, like you said, there was maybe 5 shot clock violations, even in the SEMO conference tournament. These kids had never seen a shot clock and some of them played like one game or no games going into it. So I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed not being able to play stall ball for the last 2 minutes of a ball game. And then, like you said, you also realize that most offensive possessions don't even last 35 seconds.
Correct.
Like watching it, like you guys ran offense, it never felt like, oh crap, there's 7 seconds. Let's find a step back 3 here.
I think it showed me 2 things. One, most of the time, offensive possessions never lasted 30 to 35 seconds. Right. But it also made it very evident later in the year when we would play teams that did want to be methodical and those possessions would last longer than 35. That made it more eye-opening. But no, I don't think it drastically changed the flow of game much in any way. I will be very much appreciative when everyone uses the shot clock.
Me too. The entire viewing experience was great. Even in the Christmas tournament, like you had, no offense, maybe the people that complain about it the most, the small school people of the world. I think the teams that led the tournament in shot clock violations were the SEMO conference teams. So I don't like the entire time I was like, yeah, I mean, Delta could have a 15-second shot clock. It'd be fine.
Yes.
Or Woodland or Scott City. Like, like everybody, it never felt noticeable. So you guys go 2-1 in the SEMO conference tournament. It's always big to do. You guys have another, you got 4 days after that. Finally, you got a few days. Then you played Dexter. I mean, that's the only time you guys played Dexter. And it felt like, it's always going to be a battle. Chad Allen, really, really good coach. And, he's going to find the way to make his team have an advantage no matter what their personnel is. They had a really good team this year. They went to the quarterfinals, lost to a good Clayton team there. And, a topic of conversation for you throughout the year is, the strength of schedule. But, look at what Dexter did this year. They won 20 games. They're in the quarterfinals in Class 4. They were the darlings of the SEMO conference tournament by having a lead over Sykes and going into the fourth quarter, I think. So, this was kind of a matchup at the time. It felt like, who's the second best team in Southeast Missouri between you guys and Dexter. And that was a heck of a ball game, a real total 180 there. No shot clock being 45-43, a grinder as always.
Yeah. And, obviously Dexter coming off the hot streak of, they finally kind of got over that monkey of not quite getting to a SEMO conference title game and then having a sizable lead on Sykeston and just not quite being able to hold on to it. So they were definitely on a hot streak coming into that game. And I think, too, I talked to Jeremy Brinkmeyer before that game, and he said, I just want to let you know, because they had played, I believe, in the Nixa tournament the year prior with a shot clock. And he said that game after leaving a shot clock,
whiplash.
There's going to be a whiplash. And not only would it be a whiplash, but you play a team like Dexter that was super okay with it being methodical.
Yeah, they'll have 90-second possession if they want to.
And, the thing about, and that was kind of our bugaboo early in the year, was we would have these leads like against Bluff, or we had a sizable lead. I think we were up like 20-5.
Yeah,
on Dexter.
Yeah, you jumped up on them early,
and it was we broke this down later in the year. Our first quarters were awesome. Second quarters were okay. Third quarter was the bugaboo, and then fourth quarter was usually when we stabilized it. But we got off to such a great lead, and we took our foot off the gas a little bit. Dexter kind of got just chipping away, lulling us to sleep. And they had some kids. I mean, obviously, John Sepulvedo.
Super talented team.
Devin Turnbow, Elijah Ibrahim, the freshman, the Nichols kid. Yeah. They had some kids that could flat go. And, I mean, Geethley, I didn't even mention him. He's one of the best shooters in the area. Yes. So they had some kids, and obviously Chad's going to do a great job with those guys. And, again, they had a lead late in that game, and we made a couple plays to get a victory. And, again, what that showed came to fruition with this group all year long. It doesn't matter who we play, where we play them. We're going to go and compete, and it's going to be a ball game regardless of what the outcome ends up being.
Yeah, and, as we get throughout the year, you guys didn't have as many close games later on, but the Poplar Bluff game, like going down by a couple there with a couple minutes left, like, I mean, it was calling the game, like you guys would take a timeout or they took a timeout, and I was just sitting there like, I mean, there's no cold deck on this team. Like, there's no, like, who's the closer? Is it going to be Jory? He's practiced one time in 2 weeks. Is it like, is we going to throw it down to John? He's going to get doubled, yada, yada. But it just turned out, like we talked about early in this, like, you guys didn't have a guy. You didn't need a guy. Like, it was Jory would get a steal to tie the game, and then Will would get a steal on the other end and then kick it up to tie. He hit a contested layup. Now you're ahead. It was just, it gave me a lot of hope in these close games you played early, where it's just like, any of these guys are just ready to go make a play when they need to.
Yeah, they made I think the most rewarding thing I got out of this was this group more often than not, when we needed to, made the right basketball play.
Yeah.
And whether or not that shot always went down is up for debate, I guess, but they made the right basketball play.
Yeah.
And they didn't care who got the credit as long as we got the win.
Right. And then Christmas tournament, another example. I mean, you guys won every game by double digits. Your closest game was an 11-point game against Woodland. Another time you play some tough competition. I mean, a Delta team that won 22 games, a Notre Dame team that by the end of the year was very, very solid, a Woodland team that also went to the quarterfinals in their class. I mean, what jumps out, obviously, Notre Dame game, you gave up 19 points. I did go back later on and look all the way back to 2008. They've never scored 19 points or they're that low in an entire game ever. So I that was just one of those games. It just felt like there was just nothing you guys could do wrong in that moment.
Yeah, I think that entire process, or that entire Christmas tournament, was, again, so cool because we've talked about it a couple different times of, was it going to be Will? Was it going to be Blaine? Was it going to be Jory or John? And, that first round game with Oak Ridge, it was what it was. Obviously, Oak Ridge is a much smaller school, and they're young. And so we got a bunch of guys, their first varsity experience, different kids stepped up. You go into that Delta game, Blaine Reagan with 18.
Yeah.
And the play that will always stand out in my mind is, I can't remember who threw him the pass. It may have been Britt on the outlet, but there's a long outlet and the ball's up in the air, and I look and I see Will, and I'm like, I don't think Will's going to be able to get to that. And he wasn't, but I forgot that there's this all-state track kid that we have.
The most athletic kid in the school.
And he turns on the jets and goes and gets it and lays it in. And, then you go to the Notre Dame game where I think we kind of flexed our defensive muscle a little bit. And for all of our kids being unexperienced, we had, let's be honest, we had the more experienced team, that group. And obviously Brink did a great job with that group. I think they won 16, 17 games this year, and just having basically a bunch of sophomores that he had. I believe they had 2 seniors as well.
Yeah.
In Londaway and Gabe Jones.
And they graduated 10 from the year before.
Yes. So, again, obviously I think our physicality and a little bit more experience showed up in that game. But then, obviously, the Woodland game, I don't need a lot of extra motivation to get me going, whether it was the year before last when we played and Coach Johnson and I are scouting the Cape Woodland semifinal of the Christmas tournament, and we are sitting behind 2 of Marble Hill's biggest boosters is what it seemed like. And they are talking, not knowing that 2 Jackson coaches are behind them,
right, and
saying that this is the championship game right here. So I may or may not have mentioned that to our guys.
Let people know about that.
And then, last year, I think there was a lot of people that thought that Woodland was going to beat us.
Yeah, it was much more known quantity at that time.
100%. And, Sean does a great job and has forever, wherever he was, whether it be at Delta, Leopold, or now at Woodland. And obviously Corbin is a outstanding basketball player.
Talk about a kid that plays hard.
Yeah. Motor never stops. I have an ultra amount of respect for that kid, for how he handles himself. And again, that goes back to Sean and Rebecca, his mom and dad, and how they raised him. But then you go look at Calvin Layton, who's a kid that could go for 20, and obviously Jackson Shock, a kid that we've known for a while, having the ability to go off for that as well. They had some good role players. The McCormick kid.
The McCormick kid got so hot in that game.
Mm-hmm. McCormick kid's solid.
I was like, are we going to get beat by the 6-foot post player? I'm like, we got to stop. We got to stop this right now.
They were good again. They go to the quarterfinals. They're a good team for a reason. But again, seeing a different kid step up, and that was truly Tyforce coming out party.
Yeah.
And the reason that game sticks out is not just because he goes for 30, but in the game prior, even though we played well, I remember talking to Ty after the game, because based on what we were doing in a rotation with some of Notre Dame's bigger bodies, Ty didn't get as long a stretches on the floor. He still played considerable minutes, but his rotation, they were choppier.
Right.
And I remember talking to him after the game, because I know he was down on himself a little bit. And I'm like, look, I made a decision, and we as a coaching staff made a decision, with what we wanted to do. But I guarantee you're going to hit big shots against Woodland to help us win this thing. Now, I don't know that I thought
he'd hit every shot.
Correct. But again, just so happy with that kid, because he wasn't mad at us as a staff. He was down on himself because he felt like he could have played better. Yeah. And to see him trust the process and trust our staff and have that moment in the title game against Woodland. And the best part of the entire deal was you wouldn't have found anybody that cared less about him scoring 30 than Ty. It was all the guys around him that were so happy for him to do that in that moment, and that's what made that team special.
Right. Well, that tournament, and a couple of those games we just talked about, they were in the middle of an 18-game win streak. December 12th, you beat Cape, and then all the way to February 27th, February 17th, you guys beat Seckman. 18 games. And, I mean, there weren't many Dexter 2-point games. There was no, we got to find a way to come back here in the fourth quarter. So, what was it like just playing on a different level for 2 months than everybody you faced up against?
Well, I think the thing that led to that streak was, if you look at it, we really got rolling around the Christmas break time.
Yeah.
And a lot of that had to do with the simple fact that we got multiple days in the gym to fine-tune some things. I remember vividly, because Coach Tom was one of the best I've ever been around, of drawing up quick hitters to get specific players shots for them, what hones in on their strengths. And I remember this being the first group that early on in the year we didn't have a lot of those quick hitters, and it was simply because we didn't have the practice time to really delve into that. Well, fast forward to around Christmas break, we do have some time.
Yeah.
So we start adding little things that people hadn't seen on film yet, and we got to hone in a little bit more of what our defined rotation would be. Kids just got a little bit more comfortable, and it was a really, really fun streak of basketball where we knew every single night we were going to get a really good effort out of our guys, and we always knew that, but I think that's when the kids kind of started to develop that confidence. And not only that, but just holding themselves accountable. There were nights where
that's what I was going to ask. Like how hard was it keeping the complacency away? Where it's like we won by 20, we won by 30, we can just show up and win by 30 again.
You know, not as hard as you would think. Again, that's a testament to this group of kids. I can't remember the specific game, but it was a 20-point game. And I remember walking in the locker room and I go, we have something, because they don't think we played very well right now.
Right.
And I think it was actually the New Madrid game, of a game that was a slugfest. We played defensively, I thought, really well, but offensively we really needed to clean some things up. And our guys walked out of that, and I could tell in the locker room that they weren't real happy.
Yeah.
And that made me happy as a coach, because I knew they weren't getting complacent,
Right.
and that they knew our standard was going to be to such that held them higher. And I think at that point we knew we had something special.
Yeah. And then, I talked about it a lot on here and on our live broadcast. You guys had a gauntlet at the end of the season. You went to Seckman, Sykeston at home, at Webster Groves. You go on the road to Seckman and beat a good Seckman team that had knocked you guys off. I'm sure that was a little bit of a nice feeling for the guys in the locker room after the game, because that was a tough game. That was a slugfest for throughout.
Yeah, and it was another one of those. We got off to such a hot start, and I think it was because those guys were so locked in from what we wanted to do. Again, it doesn't hurt to have guys like Jory and Blaine that you can say, hey, Geethel, who's averaging 20-plus a game, just go hound him. Yeah. Oh, and if you get tired, we'll switch Jory onto him, or we'll switch Blaine onto him. So that helped out a lot, but our guys stepped up in the first real game where we kind of could gauge what district basketball would look like. So that was a big monkey off our back, especially with how our season ended the year before, and having the 2 games against Seckman that we both come up short on. But we had people, especially in the St. Louis area, wanted to talk about our schedule. We didn't shy away from anybody. We put whoever we could,
and you can't help what happens to teams that are out of your control.
100%.
Tyshaundre Edwards gets hurt. If he's healthy, that might be a top 10 Class 5 team, or a couple guys here or there. Ladue is just a little bit down from what they are. A couple teams here or there, it's just they didn't have maybe the top end talent that they had the last couple of years.
This group was never going to shy away from anybody. But, again, that stretch showed us, we talked about the Seckman game, and I know we're probably going to talk about the Sykeston game.
That is the next game.
Yeah, so, again, what a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
I remember –
unbelievable.
I remember going into that game thinking this is going to rival the Cape game at home our first year when they still had Cam Williams and that group. That event center was every bit as full, and the atmosphere was absolutely amazing. Big shots back and forth, and we got a chance to tie it in the waning seconds, but everything you could want out of a high school basketball game.
That was an incredible environment. I'm up there in the crow's nest up in the corner on the track, and I was like, oh, there's like people around me right now. I was like, I have to be professional now here up top. I can't run my mouth here. There's like 1,000 people just standing around me.
Why we're talking about that? Not to jump around. I won't name what school it was or what game or anything, but probably my favorite quote from you and Cody throughout the year actually came from a visiting parent, and it shows what this group was all about. we go on a run to start the game, and the parent stands up and says, basically, I'm paraphrasing here, basically, I don't know what you want us to do. They just play harder than we do.
Yeah.
And I think that encompasses this group more than anything of, okay, you can try and take John away. You can try and take Jory or Will or Ty or Blaine or whoever you want to away. At the end of the day, you cannot scout for how hard this group played and how hard they competed night in and night out. And
you saw that in even those 2 losses, like you said. I mean, you guys played basically even to a Sykeston team that's in the Final Four. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at what's ahead on, they might be a state champion by the time this comes out, we'll see.
Yep.
And then the very next ball game, I mean, talk about responding from a loss. You have to go from playing Sykeston in the game of the year in Southeast Missouri to going on the road. Oh, hey, by the way, here's the best player in the state of Missouri, the number 1 team in Class 5, the reigning state champions. And you're doing it on their senior night and the night that they got every alum apparently in the history of Webster Groves to make a tribute video to Scotty Atkinson because he broke the school record. Oh, and hey, by the way, Dennis Gates and all of his assistants are on the sideline over here. Here you go. Go play this team.
And again, our kids, I don't know that they wanted it any other way. They loved that type of aspect of competition. And
Cardinal Ritter was in this corner.
Yeah, Cardinal
Lindbergh was scouting you in this corner.
So that was right after district seeds had came out.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And, some things were said about our schedule, whatever. I guarantee you one thing. Lindbergh and Ritter did not leave that gym going, yep, Jackson will be an easy out in the district. So, it is what it is, and Scotty is obviously he's an amazing basketball player, and he made a bunch of tough shots that night. And that is what it is. The coolest comment we got all night, and I don't know if I've actually shared this with you or not, but myself and Coach Haas are walking out of the gym, and we happen to run into Coach Smith Peters, who is one of the assistants at Mizzou, and another assistant. And, this wasn't us buddying up to him or anything. They actually stopped us and said, you guys have a really, really good team, and your execution coming out of timeouts, baseline out of bounds, are things that make me jealous as a coach. So when you have a high level,
you're sitting there like, okay,
thank you. I appreciate that. That takes the sting a little bit away. But no, that's a direct reflection and compliment to Coach Toma, because there was never a game that we went into where those guys weren't prepared.
Yeah.
And
because you guys, like you said, the coaching, the execution, it was there. You just sometimes can't game plan for a Scotty Atkinson. He's kind of a game plan buster. He can just go put his head down and score 40.
I will root for him in a couple years if he dons that black and gold. I say if just because I know what the climate of college basketball is, but yeah.
I mean, for the people that didn't see the game, explain just how impossible to guard he was.
He's the best I've seen at, a lot of times, even the really, really good high school players. You even look at Otto Porter, for an example, several years ago. Otto would later in the NBA make himself a pick and pop guy. Right. He was not that guy in high school. No. He was going to get to the rim, get to the rim, get to the rim, get to the rim. Scotty's one of the rare ones that I've seen that can shoot it and shoot it at a high clip from deep, but also have the body control and strength to bounce off of kids and finish consistently at the rim, even when it's not that he's just quicker than you and he's going to get to the rim. Jory was there all night, or Blaine was there all night, and he's just finishing through kids. He's the real deal,
so
and
good.
We've seen it in back-to-back years. Yeah. I mean, the shot he hits.
I'm so big.
Yeah. So he's one heck of a basketball player.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, just calling the game, it just felt no matter what, you could play great defense. Shout out to Blaine Reagan. Blaine could stay in front of him. Mm-hmm. He just was, 5 inches shorter, 6 inches shorter than him. He just get in the mid post and shoot over him. But it did feel like you could have 2 hands, 3 hands, 4 hands there, and I was just waiting to say, and it's good. Nope. Okay, he missed. Mm-hmm. It was just it was a miracle every time. So
Again, when I stop coaching, which hopefully is several years from now, I can talk to my family. I can talk to whoever about I've coached against Kyan Evans, who is now a guard at North Carolina.
It's okay.
Cam Manyow, who is now the starting center at Iowa. Caden Fish, that went to Iowa State and is now the starting power forward at Ball State. Mm-hmm. Scotty Atkinson, who is probably going to go play high major college basketball, and who knows after that. I mean, the list goes on and on about the Marquell Murrays and the Cam Williams, the Tyshaundre Edwards, because his story's not over with yet. I know he'll continue to play. But just the amount of individual talent that is in this area is mind-blowing.
It is. Also, I beat Jason Tatum. People forget.
Feather in the cap.
People forget.
I actually told my daughter that story. Not necessarily that you beat her, but
I watched that game the other day.
Because I'd go back and that's what I told.
Shout out to Coach Scott. Coach Scott, I don't remember what the YouTube channel's called. Maybe just like Indian Hoops or something. Coach Scott, during COVID, just uploaded like a greatest hits of like late 2010s basketball from Jackson. It's a silent film, by the way. We hadn't invented sound yet when I was in high school. I just watched Jackson versus Chaminade in complete silence the other night for about an hour and a half. It was fun.
I would too. If I was on that team, I would when I'm old and senile, I'll tell everybody I was the guy guarding Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
so.
No, it's gonna get better every year. The story's gonna get worse every year. I'm gonna be like, remember the time I dunked on Jason Tatum? So you guys get back in the present here. You guys play a super tough schedule. You go to Notre Dame, a Notre Dame team that, got embarrassed the first time you played them and was going to come out, play so hard. They pressured you guys. They did everything right. You guys made plays once again down the stretch. I mean, you in the year, tough Seckman game, tough Sykeston, Webster Groves, Notre Dame. I mean, it feels that. Talk about preparing yourself to be in the postseason. You saw every different type of team, type of play style there going into the district tournament.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want your end of years. You want it to get you ready for what you're going to see in districts. And again, the Class 6 District 1 was definitely no cakewalk for anybody. Yeah. I think
the top end of the district was really good. I mean, you guys, Ritter, Lindbergh, were all very good, very even, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think our schedule, especially at the end, got us ready for that. And then going into districts, you kind of get to reset everything. There's a little renewed energy, and everybody's 0-0, and see where we stack up at the end of it.
Yeah, I guess quickly, you don't have to start naming names or anything here, but how did the seed meeting go? Like, were you surprised to get the 2 seed? Where'd you kind of factor in there? Because I think I did it on the podcast. I was just stressing out going into the end of the year. I don't know why. I was just stressing out going into the end of the year, trying to figure out the exact combination of how the teams would all play out. And I'm like, all right, we beat Seckman. We're a guaranteed top 3 seed. Mm-hmm. Now, how's this going to play out? And I was just sitting there. I was sitting there looking at my laptop. I had all 3 schedules just pulled up next to each other. Well, they did beat them, but they fell apart here during the stretch. I'm like, I don't know. So how did that whole meeting go? And what was the anonymous conversations that happened there?
Yeah, I thought we were deserving of the 1 based on we had the most wins in the district. Obviously, we had the biggest point differential. We had given up the fewest amount of points. Had the highest points per game. People are going to say what they want to about our schedule. We scheduled who would come and play us, and I think it's tough in our situation because we are the only Class 6 school in this
until you get to Seckman.
Yeah, 100%. And so, some of those schools dropped us in the previous years, some of the Class 6 schools that we had played based on what their schedules would allow. So Ritter made a case basically based on their schedule, which obviously they played a
really
very
tough.
Yeah, very, very tough. And I'm not saying they weren't deserving of the 1 seed. I just felt like our body of work added up that we should have been the 1. But at the end of the day, you got to go and beat everybody if you want to win a district title anyway. So, we knew that no matter who we played in the first round, whether it was going to be Oakville, Fox, whoever, they were going to present a challenge. Again, Oakville, Coach Traxler has been there forever, been to multiple Final Fours.
Yeah.
So he is very, very talented at what he does and gets his teams to play very, very hard. And at the end of the day, we had to go out and take care of business round one if we wanted to have any kind of success going forward.
Yeah. What was the level of concern after, playing Oakville? They made life really difficult, which, once again, that was another situation where people was like, wow, what happened to you guys in this game? I was like, like you said, they have a coach that's been there for almost 30 years that's great at his job. And then also, they're a tough matchup. They have a point guard that's just a bowling ball that could get downhill on anybody. And then also they have a 6'5" swing guy that can play inside, outside, can guard anybody. And then, it's the postseason. Like, this is what happens in the postseason.
I think it was all of those things. And the thing that our group did a really good job of, we defend a lot better when we know what kind of structure is coming. And I think that's why Oakville was such a tough guard for us at times, is in years past, some of the Oakville teams have been very, very structured with their secondary breaks and their different quick hitters that they ran. This group, whether it was just based on personnel or what worked best for them, was a little bit more free-flowing and relied more on the Eckerd kid. Just, I'm going to put my head down and go. Simon
Yeah, I mean, they ran him through 1,000 high ball screens.
And I think that presented some problems for us. But again, at the end of the day, I think we gave up 35
30,
points.
yeah. And then that was what I told people. I was like, I mean, they scored 35 points. I was like, I was never concerned on that end. It was just like, yeah, I mean, I would like to score more points. That's always fun, but it's hard to do. I was like, and not to mention, they didn't force anything either, Oakville. Like, they had 60-second, 80-second possessions there. I remember calling a game can be hard whenever you're doing that. I'm like, all right, and they swing it to the left side. Now it's Eckerd. Now it's Simon. Now it's this kid. Now it's this kid. I'm like, all right, they haven't attacked yet, but they knew what they needed to do to put themselves in a position to win, and
100%.
that's what they did.
And that's what any good coach is going to do. And at the end of the day, especially in Class 6, you're never going to have more than likely, unless it's, usually you're 1/8, but really anybody, usually 7 through whatever, you're going to have some competition in there. And
in Class 6, everybody has good players.
Yes, 100%. So definitely knew that we had a well-earned win, and just knew that Lindbergh was going to be a huge matchup because, again, Coach Biggs has done a great job with that program. He and Coach Toma, both Columbia College alumni, playing up there. And they have some very special players on top of the unique style that they play with that blocker mover. And this was no different than any other Lindbergh team that we've seen.
Yeah, going into that game, that's what I was telling people about Lindbergh. I was like, I mean, as far as just talent goes and things like that, it feels really even. A lot of guys that can do a lot of the same things, a lot of guys that look the same, built the same, out there going to be on the floor together. And I mean, that's kind of what came to fruition. You guys lost by 2 points. And so I also, I'm as an Arkansas fan, I'm a big luck guy. Things are always about to go against me at any the snap of a finger. So I was like, Lindbergh feels due. You guys beat them close 2 times. You went to their place when they had the 7-foot kid, and came back from a deficit in the fourth quarter. I was like, it just feels like they're due. They're going to jump up and beat us when they're the lower seed this time. And that, I mean, it was a great game. It was an even played game. Talk about letting people play. I don't know, you remember that side of that part of the game? That was maybe the most physical as far as just dudes hitting each other of basketball game I saw all year.
And that, in all honesty, I don't know that group would have had it any other way, because you got kids like Blaine and Jory and even Will and John. And, that's the thing I think that stands out the most for that game is obviously, I mean, what are you going to say about Jory hitting buzzer beater shots on that court, on that side of the floor? Because it was almost verbatim the exact same spot that he had hit the shot the year prior against Seckman. Hits one at the buzzer before half that kind of gives us a little momentum. We're down 2 going into half. But really the story of that game, the third quarter might have been one of the best quarters of basketball we've seen all year long, of A, the physicality, B, the shot making of just going back and forth. And I thought that we saw John really start to mature in that quarter.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the positives I want to mention. Like, I think you said it in the post game that, like, he played like a man tonight. Like,
a grown
that
man.
was like that was it. Like, he was getting assaulted every time he posted up. Every time he went up, he was just getting hammered, and he still was just going through people and never shied away from the moment.
I think that's the funniest thing about this group is everybody talks about, and rightfully so, the progression of Will Thomas, the progression of Ty, the progression of Jory, the progression of Blaine. But the thing that I think gets lost is, John went from he was a part and an integral part of our team last year, but he averaged 6-7 points a game.
Right.
To this year being the guy that everyone game planned for.
That was the only thing on every game plan. Yeah, like everybody you played in that 18-game win streak, John was just getting double teamed on the catch every single night.
And he ended up, I think, around 13 points a game, 7-8 rebounds a game. So you want to talk about a jump from a freshman to a sophomore year. And I've said it to him. We had our exit interview with him today. And said it to him, to anybody that'll listen, he has not even scratched the surface on how good of a player he can be yet. Because the kid is one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet. And again, Matt and Dina, his mom and dad, again, I've been lucky enough. We talked about this is year 4. I got a chance to coach his brother his senior year, and now to see John through 2 years, and God willing, be able to see him through the next 2.
Yep.
Not going to find 2 better kids or to be raised by 2 better parents and a better family than those guys. But I could say that about a lot of our guys.
Yep.
I mean, the Thomas, the Reagans, the Forrests.
Shout out to the whole Reagan clan, by the way.
Yes, I mean,
the whole Reagan clan. Always, just at every ball game, is very entertaining.
I'm sorry, but are you going to find a nicer human being than Bobby Reagan?
No.
I mean, you want to talk about some energy.
Yeah.
But I digress. But again, all of the families.
Yeah.
You talk from varsity to JV to freshman. We have good families, good groups all the way through. But again, to go back to that game with Lindbergh, at the end of the day, the physicality was awesome because that's how that group wanted to play. Lindbergh made one more shot than we did.
Yeah.
And it's anytime you don't win the last game of the year, it, for lack of a better phrase, it sucks.
Yep.
But I don't think that should get lost on the fact of what this group accomplished this
24-4,
year.
7-1 in the SEMO conference, both
again,
high marks for the program.
I said it on my end of season synopsis, so to speak. The most points we've scored in a season, like per game, since 14, which I believe would have been Blake Reynolds' senior year.
Yeah, that was a junior year. That was when Carson King was a senior.
Carson King,
that was the most talented team Jackson had, I think, like 15 years.
So most points they've scored since that season, most points or least amount of points given up since
the entire Misha record.
Yeah. The most wins since that 14 year.
Yeah, the most in the regular season by anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, to say that with what we had coming back this year, and I think the amount of questions that we had, it says a lot about Coach Toma and what he has developed in his 4 years now as the head of this program, and says a lot about these kids and their dedication to this program.
Yeah. And talk about, individual player-wise, I was going to start with John, but, the guy I didn't mention there in the postseason, Jory Toma. You mentioned the big shots he hit, but, I mean, he shows up every postseason. I think he's led you in scoring every postseason game he's played in. I think he had 21 in that Lindbergh game. I mean, when the lights are bright, the kid always steps up. And you said it earlier, I think, about how there's just so much potential for him. Like, he can shoot. He can get to the hole on anybody. He can, as physical as any kid on the team that can get through bodies. He can guard any player essentially on any team, regardless of size, speed, quickness, things like that. Now, he can be any player at this point that he wants to be.
100%. And, I got a soft spot in my heart for a kid like Jory, and I'm going to try not to get emotional here because his father and mother might make fun of me for it, and I know his uncle would. But that family means a lot to me, and you want to talk about a kid who never takes a play off, whether it's practice, game, whatever we're doing. He wants to win, and he hates to lose. I don't care how long I coach. I will always remember the 18-mile walk back from the gym at SLU High School. Not that I'm bitter about that. But I walked back with Jory to the bus, and I just said, "Hey, are you okay?" And he said, "I'm okay. We should have won that." And I said, "I know." But I said, we need to understand why we lost.
Yeah.
And I said, have you ever heard the phrase, you can learn more from a loss than you can from a win? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, that only matters if we take why we lost and learn those lessons and make us better. And he just hates to lose. Jory couldn't care less if he scores 2 points or he scores 21. He just wants to.
And he has an equal impact.
100%. And again, that's a testament to Kyle and Callie, his mom and dad. I mean, it doesn't hurt when your two older brothers are Justice and Judd, who are both amazing athletes in their own right.
Yeah.
And, Judd's at mission right now. Justice is serving our country, which is a matter of respect higher than anything. And then obviously you got guys like his grandpa, Carlton, who, for my money, is one of the best small school basketball coaches in this state. And we've ever seen. And then again, you got his uncle was pretty solid as a player, as was his father, and his uncle is also a pretty good coach. Has been proven out. I gotta do this because the last time I mentioned pretty much everybody on the Toma family side, except for Kyle and Corey's younger sister, Kara. I promised she's gonna listen to this somewhere in Alaska, whether there are lights on, and
I don't think they get sun for 6 more months.
I don't know if this is the dark side in Alaska or what, but she was a valuable member of the Toma family. Love her to death. Love the entire Toma. So I told her the next time I was on the podcast, I would give her a shout out. Here's your shout out.
For anybody listening, she's not standing over there with a gun. I promise she's not. So I mean, this team, and that's kind of what I'm getting into here, is like, you lose 2 seniors who do so much chemistry-wise and leadership-wise, but there's so much in the cupboard here going into next year. We talked about Jory, and we talked about John, and the kid's 6'8". He can handle the ball with any 6'8" kid in the entire region. And we mentioned it, how he was the top of the game plan every night. Every team we played, he was getting doubled on the catch, and he was either just being like, hey, you're both 6'2", I'm just going to score over you because I am bigger and better than you right now. Or he made the right play. Like he's a great passer. He played great out of the high post. That was something I think I talked about with you in the preseason when I saw you guys do a lot of going into the year. There's just so much potential too with this kid, just like what he can do and what he can become.
100%. And he's shown the ability at times to shoot the basketball away from the rim as well. And if we can continue to work on that and get it to where it's consistent, I think that's the next layer. Because right now, I think if he catches on the perimeter, some people would like to give him a step.
Yeah.
And if they can't do that, now it's going to be easier for him to get to the rim. And again, as he continues to mature and the game continues to slow down for him, you want to keep doubling him, that's fine, because he's going to find open shooters. He's going to trust his teammates. We never had to worry about John being selfish. There was times where we want him to be a little selfish at times. But, again, great teammate, great kid, and the sky is absolutely the limit.
Yeah, and unbelievable. I mean, you mentioned the shot. Not to talk about it more, but, I played with a guy you mentioned earlier, Blake Reynolds. He was a kid who came up as a sophomore, started killing people on the low block. Junior, annihilating everybody on the low block. And then going into his senior year, he's like, I'm 6'7". I want to play, high-level college basketball. I need to be able to shoot the ball. And then just in an offseason, he was a 41% three-point shooter on the highest volume on the team. So, I mean, that's a trajectory that I wouldn't be surprised to see this kid take to.
No, again, the sky's the limit because he's going to continue to work and he's going to have a great head on his shoulders. And I cannot wait to say I was a very, very small part of this kid's story one day.
Yeah, and then, the third starter out of this group here, you had the two seniors, but now we talked about Jory, John. Blaine Reagan has the most lateral quickness of any kid I've ever seen wear red and black. I mean, he's the best athlete on the court every night. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's unbelievable. You genuinely just said in the locker room, like, hey, Blaine, don't let their best player do anything. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what happened almost every night.
100%. I mean, we talked about the Eckerd kid earlier. Or, okay, you want to take that a step further, a guy that had a better season than the Eckerd kid, the Ahmad kid from Lindbergh.
Yeah.
Who
had that kid disappear.
100%. And, again, the kid's a great athlete. When going into the Farmington tournament, Blaine texted Coach Toma and I and said, hey, the track coach at the University of Miami, of Florida, that Miami, wants to come and talk with me. Is it okay if I drive up to the game so I can talk with him? Well, fast forward to the coach not making it on time. So he just comes to a random high school basketball game at Farmington High School.
Shout out.
You're kind of a big deal on the track circuit if you got the University of Miami just coming to watch you play basketball.
Yeah, no, he's pretty quick. We got in you and our time this weekend going to be running in Cape County. Appointment television, by the way. Anybody watching this? Track and field is not for everybody to watch. It takes 8 hours. It's super boring. I understand. DM anybody that's related to Blaine Reagan and ask him like when he's running in a meet, and just be there for it. It's unbelievable.
I told Blaine earlier this year, I said, you have more talent in your right pinky than I wished I had my entire body.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a video of the kid like windmill dunking last year. Like,
yeah. And again, here's what cannot get emphasized enough. We talk about Jory, John, Will, Ty, Blaine. Could not be a better kid.
Yeah.
You could see these kids walking down the hall and you would never think for a second, hey, there goes the stud for the Jackson basketball team or the Jackson football team because of how they conduct themselves. And to me, again, I know it's cliche, but that's just as important, if not more, of why this group was so successful.
And you talk about, pure athleticism and some genetics also mixed in there. You had a twin brother, Brock Reagan, who played 0 seconds last year, and he is just immediately a huge party rotation. You say, okay, well, Brock, we're going to take your brother out of the game because he's just put his life on the line to guard a kid. I would like you to go now ruin this same kid's life, and he just goes in and does the same thing.
I hope people can see the smile on my face because I'll never forget the day that Brock I have an advisory supervision that I do at the high school. And, a lot of times the kids will come talk to me and see what's going on throughout the day. And obviously with Brock stepping away after his freshman year with the injury and he kind of wanted to focus on some other stuff, we always told him, hey, look, if you ever want to come back, the door's always open because, again, great kid. And I remember Brock coming up kind of right at the end of football and goes, hey, I think I want to come back this year. Do you think that'd be okay? Yeah, bud. Let's go talk to Coach Toma. Yes. And again, didn't care what his role was. Understood that he had been gone for a year and things would be a little bit rusty, but was a great teammate, was great when he was on the bench. When his number was called, though, he was ready. And again, one of the moments that stands out is I think it was in the Cape game of the conference tournament. He drills a three, and there was no more excited person on that floor for him than his twin.
Yeah.
Because you want to see a kid go from 0 to 60 was Blaine running to Brock to give him a high five after he hit that. Again, there's just so many stories like that with this group, but it was awesome having Brock back, and I can see him being an integral part of our group next year as well.
Yeah. I mean, he's a little more, like you said, just another year of just playing basketball, maybe confidence away from being a very good basketball player. And Blaine, what time is he going to be doing this? But, I mean, he's a, threat of jump shot away from being unguardable, because if people close out on him at all, he's just dribbles right by them and, can go score at the rim because, like I mentioned, he can put his forehead at the rim or makes the right play.
Yes.
Also, he made a lot of great kickouts. That helps when you have Jory Toma and Ty Forrest, Will Thomas that can all shoot it around him.
100%.
So, and then more guys, I mean, in the rotation coming off the bench for you that are going to be bigger parts of that rotation, I assume, next year. Ryan Criddle at the guard spot, Britt Crowden at the guard spot. Also, I'm excited about just because of the sheer length and the ability that he has a discernible skill right now, which is he walks in the game. He probably gets talked about in the scouting report, like, this kid's going to come off the bench. He's going to run to the corner. He's going to shoot a three the first time he comes in the game. Don't let him do that. And he comes in the game, and you guys get a steal, and you push it in transition, and he's just there in the corner, and he makes a three, and then the other team's coach calls a timeout and is like, please just don't let this kid catch the ball again in the corner.
No,
I'm excited. I'm excited about what he can do because of just the fact he has something he's good at, and if he can add to that, I think he is close to being a very good basketball player.
Yes, 100%. And another kid, great kid. Mom and dad have done an amazing job raising him. He's just a really, really good kid that you can see it when he truly comes out of his shell and that aggressiveness takes over. There's not going to be anything stopping him because, again, he is absolutely knocked down from three. The kids joke around with him all the time that he's got two jobs on the team. Hit corner threes, and he's got this speaker that is the loudest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, but he has the music.
It's an important role.
You got two jobs, Britt, corner threes and music. But no, he is, again, great teammate. Somebody that really spends a lot of time. He does a great job, especially off the ball defense, of knowing where he's supposed to be and as a communicator. But again, as he continues to progress and works hard this summer, I think the sky's the limit for what he can bring for us as a senior next year.
And the last guy who's going to play an important role going forward, he was this year as well, Oliver Drum, in that size and kind of role in a bit of a tweener spot, right? Like you guys don't have another 6'7" kid to bring off the bench like you had year one. You had Gavin Holdman to bring in. It's just like, this guy's just this is a backup center. You don't have one of those. You have Oliver Drum, who is kind of in that, he's probably better on the being out on the wing than he's not going to be, posting people up, things like that as a primary role, but he can do a little bit of everything well, and he's only a sophomore, and the jumps he could take could also be putting him in that really, really kind of special category because he's another just good athlete, plays soccer, things like that.
100%. The sky's the limit for Oliver, and we mentioned with those seniors, Ryan Criddle next year as well too. Yeah. We'll have a integral part of what we do because, again, great teammate, really good defender for us. He played major minutes in that Lindbergh game because of his ability to guard on the block. He's an ultra strong kid. I'd say Ryan's probably 6 foot, 6'1". Yeah. But yeah, going back to Oliver, he's super quick twitch with his lateral quickness, can jump out of the gym. I mean, he showed that, I believe, in the Kennett game where he gets a steal.
Did throw one down.
No, but I don't think anybody had Oliver Drum with our first dunk of the year on their bingo card. But, again, super athletic, quick twitch. Showed that at times can shoot the basketball away from the rim. And then him being able to get downhill, and defensively, I think there's especially another level he can get to because he is 6'3", 6'4", can guard on the perimeter, can block shots at the rim. He's another one that he can get a rebound and we can just go. And it starts, I think we saw this year how deadly our break can be when guys like John and Oliver get rebounds and we don't have to wait for a guard to come and get it. Oliver's ceiling is going to be through the roof. I think a couple other kids that are in that sophomore.
You had a special group there, or a big group of sophomores and freshmen, which, once again, that was a big role I think that Coach Haas played in the whole situation. Is you guys were pretty much the only team I watched all season that you have a JV basketball team and those kids are on the JV team, and you have a varsity team and that rotation is set. There's not a lot of crossover between them. I mean, he had a lot of bodies. You look at the list of just underclassmen, a lot of bodies to rotate through and a lot of guys to develop this year. That's a huge group, that sophomore freshman class.
100%. And you got guys like Drew Respondic, who we talked about, got a couple starts earlier in the year. I think he's going to be integral for us, especially where, guys like Brock, Drew, Easton Toma, having lost Will, who handled a lot of those point guard duties, you got Brock and Easton and Drew, who all have the capabilities of doing that going forward. Kids like Colt Floyd, who I thought had a really good year on our JV team, and especially down the stretch was one of their leading scorers. Another kid, great family, works extremely hard. I think he could have a viable role for us next year. Kid like Ja'Cory Wiseman, who, you want to talk about a kid that is the ultimate heat check. He had 19 points in a quarter versus Seckman.
I was going to say, if the Seckman game was insane, and then I don't know if it's, you have to go look up Notre Dame on whatever it is, Huddle or something. They're the Notre Dame JV tournament. I think he scored 19 points in like 30 seconds to send that game to overtime.
Yes. So again,
he's just such an entertaining player.
The kid only wants to get better, and we had his exit interview today, and we asked him what he thought about being around the varsity, because he and Easton both dressed varsity this year for us, more so than playing time. We just wanted him to be around these guys, and he loved how much this group played for each other. So him seeing that as he matures on and off the floor going forward, I think he could have a big uptick next year. Kid like DJ Johnson.
Also, you talk about a Blaine Reagan clone, lefty Blaine Reagan clone.
Yes.
He did that on JV.
100%.
Bryce was just like, that kid is the best player. He's the one kid playing varsity on that team. Go eliminate him from the game plan.
And it's on, and that's the great part about our development of our program is we can sit here and go, guys, look, doesn't matter if you got major minutes as a sophomore or a freshman or a junior even. Look at Will and Ty. Look what they did when their opportunity came, because now you got kids like, again, DJ, Corbin Shands as a freshman, kids that Remington Gragg, who I thought had really nice minutes for our JV down the stretch. Kids like Carson McClellan, Luke Horrell, guys that, again, their playing time has fluctuated, but if they continue to stay with it, good things can happen for you going forward. A big kid like Xander Smith.
Yeah, and the two older kids on that group never, took it for granted, like, hey, the opportunity they were getting in Keller and Shanley. Like, those kids showed up and made big shots, made big plays.
100%.
They played just 100% every second they were in a game.
And that's what we want to use JV for, is kids like a Keller, a Shanley, who are juniors that maybe don't have a role based on what we have at the varsity level, that when you're a senior, now you've had some reps. A kid that comes to mind is Austin Criddle from 2 years ago, who didn't have a role as a junior, but he goes to JV and gets some meaningful minutes, and then when his number was called as a senior, plays in every game, was a vital part. So we just got a bunch of kids like that throughout the program that I think when their number is called, if they continue to work, I think good things can happen, because I think clearly we have set the standard of what Jackson basketball should be about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. You have so many great examples this year, Ty, Will, the last few years. Like you said, there's so many guys that were on JV as a junior, never got down about it, and just got better and impacted winning at a
100%.
very, very high level for you guys. So
100%.
I mean, it's pretty much. Let's see. Any spare thoughts I have here? You have a couple home and homes are wrapping up, or is it going to maybe be a couple different schedule changes going into next year?
Yeah,
obviously it's not. It's a
it's fluid.
ways away, but
we are. We actually met with Coach Kitchen today about addressing some of our schedule things. So we've talked about the possibilities of maybe the Norm Stewart Classic, of the Ramey Shootout.
Oh yeah.
Of I know Coach Toma's pretty good friends with a guy out of Harrisburg.
Okay.
Coach Combs, who's been up there for several years, that they played together at Columbia. He has a shootout. We've bounced around the possibilities of hosting a shootout ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So our schedule should look a little different next year, and I think kind of raise the level of who we're playing on a night in and night out basis, and it's only going to make us better. But as you look forward to this summer as well, we're probably going to be going to Kansas City for the NBCA showcase, which is cool for me because that's kind of like an hour just north of where I grew up.
Yeah.
So shout out to Mom and Dad. We will be having a barbecue at the Brownsberger household with Jackson basketball. So Sandra doesn't know that yet, but Sandra will –
surprise.
Yeah, Sandra and Sean will be on board with that more likely because they get to see their grandkids one more time.
It's a real bait and switch on your part.
Yeah, I do what I can. But no, I just think the level has been raised, and so you'll see that with our schedule both in the regular season and with the summer as well.
And then last thing, your counterparts on the girls' side in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the girls' basketball team.
100%.
Unbelievable year.
Hey, what Coach Fulton has done with this program, her, Coach Boone, Coach Martin, just great success. Wishing them nothing but the best, and know they're going to go get after Staley in the Final Four.
Yeah, so pretty much does it for me, Coach. Thank you for your time this season. It was a lot of fun.
Yep.
You're down there in the mix. I have to sit sometimes I'm half mile away depending on where we're at, but it's always a genuine fun time watching your kids play.
Well, hey, I truly appreciate it, Caleb, and as always, I tell you and Cody on the air, and this is not hollow. I truly appreciate your guys' coverage because you're taking this time out. It's not like getting paid an awful lot of anything, so we truly appreciate
it. Do this for free, everybody.
We do what you do for our kids and getting them the exposure, and it's always a joy to listen to you on the air and on these podcasts, so we appreciate what you do for Jackson Indians basketball, and as always, go Indians.
Yes, sir. I'll always be a shill. I tell people on here all the time I'm biased. I did play for this team. I will openly root for this team. I'm sorry. Everybody else, I will root for you when you're not playing this team. Okay, I'm sorry. So everybody, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Coach as always. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.